Adventure on Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman on the Positively Pipeman segment of the show on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com, with our resident expert on pet health and human health too, because in some ways it's one and the same. So let's give a welcome to Pet Health Guru. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And, I love our subject today because it's give your dog a bone. And humans, I have a bone to pick with, but I'm gladly giving my dogs a bone. Now, first I have a question off the bat, and then we're going to talk about the benefits of raw bones. But I also remember being younger and, yes, being taught raw bones are great for pets, but then that rawhide were not. So can you tell us your viewpoints on that?
Well, in veterinary medicine, they basically don't like you feeding anything raw. So therefore, we had to come up with an alternative because they put the scare tactics in that, the bones will splinter if they're, when the dogs chew at them, they're going to rip up the intestine and you get a dead dog. So obviously the industry was also looking for a way to counter this, which is where rawhide came from. Now, first off, it's not raw, which is interesting in itself because it is a processed product. And basically, when I started into the market, it was a major portion of the market for something for them to chew on that so-called was safe. And basically, it was. Basically, rawhide was nothing more than collagen, the same ingredient that it's made from, which is the inside of a cowhide, what they call the split. The outside, of course, goes for leather, clothing, all of that sort of stuff. The collagen part of it went to two industries. One was making these nice rawhide bones in all kinds of fancy shapes that were supposedly a safe alternative. That wasn't used for rawhide was actually going to the plant next door that made gelatin. And so that was being used, obviously, in the food industry. Biggest use of gelatin back when I started in the business, already after I started in the business, but in the 80s and 90s, was they used it as a solidifier in TV dinners to hold together. So we actually ended up in this competitive place. Who's going to get the collagen to make bones or TV dinners? It was really, really interesting back then.
That explains a lot, by the way, because my mother gave me TV dinners all the time. So
Okay,
it kind of explains some of my problems.
Okay, yes. Well, and of course, the rawhide process. Obviously, you have to clean the collagen, solidify it, make it into a shape, and then dry it out. Well, some of the chemicals that were used had questionable attributes, as did all processed foods, even today. However, the AVMA, American Veterinary Association, and other animal veterinary advocates said, oh, that's dangerous. And somehow some of these chemicals got put on cannot use in the United States. So what happened is they started shipping all the hides overseas, where they didn't have any laws as to what could be used on them. And unfortunately, it came down to a lot of more toxic chemicals were being used. A little bit, obviously that got thrown up by the powers to be that this is a bad thing. It's going to poison your dog. And the other part of it was they're going to swallow it and they're going to choke to death. And because it's going to swell up when it got moist. And the market got so big too, we couldn't, shipping hides from the United States in frozen containers over there and then have processed and shipped back was expensive. So then they decided to start using water buffalo hides. And again, processed who knows how. And so it just got pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where, it was terrible. I remember working with one of the processes of it in the United States that was making this stuff. And we used to sell, especially for kennels or people that had a number of dogs, these bulk packs of rawhide bones. And they were basically reduced price because they had discolorations and, maybe holes or things like that in that where the hide was. And a friend of mine who was an associate of mine actually tried to figure out how to make these into a better product. One night, I guess a couple too many bourbons or something, decided to put the rawhide bones into a pan of bouillon, beef bouillon, which would color the bone. And that's how the basted bones started. And then you basically took a second-grade product, and took it into a premium price point. I mean, it was a fascinating way that it happened. But, that's entrepreneurship. That's how we can actually take waste material and create a product that is really, really super as far as the marketplace is concerned. Now, on the other side, the raw bone stuff.
Let's pause on the raw bone, because I want to say one thing that it made me think of, because I thought of it in the beginning when you were talking about rawhide's not raw. I was going to say then, and now you even confirmed it even more. Oh, then that's why it's the color it is, because it looks like it's cooked.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I thought. It looked like cooked, not raw.
Yeah. Well, of course, today it's all a spray on, and with a lot of different chemicals and flavors and palatants and that sort of thing. But it's still got the same bad name here in the United States. And, but was it a beneficial product? Yes. Part of the other issue with it is with swallowing whole things. During the same period, because of the competition with the gelatin part of it, the price of it expanded greatly, because now we got a competitive user of that waste product. And what a bone that might have been an 8-inch, 10-inch bone might have been $3 back then, and then it went to like $8 or $9. Okay, so part of the problem with swallowing it is people weren't going to spend $8 or $9 on a bigger bone. They bought a smaller bone, and when you gave it to that Roddy, and then we took the meat out of the pet food, which they needed, so this rawhide was a piece of meat. So they would take, instead of chewing on the bone, they would just swallow it because they were meat deprived. That rawhide bone to them was a steak, and they would just swallow it whole. And of course, veterinarians also on that during that time period figured out if they did an X-ray and they saw a rawhide bone in the gut, we have to operate. It was a cheap, easy way of making money. Whereas if they actually did nothing, that rawhide bone was completely digested in a day, 2 days.
Wow.
But when because it was a big part of it, you could see it on an X-ray. Oh my God, it's going to be a blockage, and it never was. But like I said, it's funny on those same animals that they were doing surgery on, and I used to track it back in my youth. But they would also find that those dogs that did that swallowing were what we would consider like a garbage gut dog. They would eat anything: drywall, sticks, stones. We had one case that when they did it, the dog swallowed a TV remote.
Wow.
So, that was interesting, but that's the kind of, pantyhose, socks, underwear, because the animal was then meat deprived with the artificial flavored foods, that anything that smelled like animal, which of course anything that's against our body is going to pick up our body odors, our body, our sweat, our oils. Hey, that was fair game. And I actually had a customer come into the store and to describe it, that the dog was like acting funny after we were going out for their walk, and he pooped. And she says, I picked up the tail and I look, and there's little things sticking out. She says, I got gloves on and I grabbed onto it and slowly started pulling it out and pulling it out and pulling it out. It was a complete pair of pantyhose.
Oh.
That was swallowed. Now, if you imagine just spreading that up on a table, that's 8 feet of nylon in that gut.
Wow.
So I mean, the wild tales that we used to have, and we still do. I mean, with all the poisons and that. But what they did is they tried to eliminate all, with any of the bones. They're trying to eliminate any chance of anything possibly happening. Now here was the contrary thing too, is when you went to the veterinarian, he says, no, 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 on the rawhide bones. But we have vet shoes over here that we've taken the rawhide chips and treated them with chemicals, disinfectants for your dog to eat.
Mm.
Yeah, it's, I guess if it's sold by a veterinarian, it doesn't matter that they put poison on it or not, because now they got a new customer for poisoning.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think of dogs in the wild, and wouldn't they eat bones in the wild and not die?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny too, because of the size of the bone, the type of bone, that sort of thing. Small animals, when they get a kill of a rabbit, a squirrel, something of that nature, a bird, it's just crunch, crunch, crunch. They eat the whole thing. Now, on the big animals, they will basically chew on the bones, because the bones are much harder. They'll chew on the bones to get the marrow out and for all the cartilage, and then they literally do bury their bones. And they'll go back to them 6 months later, a year later, and dig them back up when food is scarce. And of course, during that process, bacteria, funguses, molds, bugs have broken down that bone now that it's soft enough that they could actually chew it up and actually get nutrition out of it. Basically, when you stop and think about it, that's rotten, already rotted food.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly fine with it. And
wow.
we're worried about the deadly salmonella bugs that are crawling and creeping around.
It's terrible.
I know.
So what kind of raw bones would you recommend to people? Can they get those raw bones through you? And if so, tell them how they would do that, and how they would, of course, reach out to you for more information, more questions, check out your podcast, all that stuff.
Exactly. My Paleo Pet, actually, BioComplete, produces a complete line of bones. We look at the size of the animal, even the age of the animal. One of the warnings that we always get is, they might be able to break a tooth on a bone because it's hard. Well, if your dog breaks a tooth eating a bone, that means it's already calcium deficient.
Yeah.
The whole calcium, the whole matrix of calcium. So your dog actually needs it. But, smaller dogs, younger dogs, pork bones, lamb bones, and actually the density of the bone has to do with the age of the animal. We slaughter sheep, we slaughter goats, we slaughter pork at a very young age, chicken even the same way. Those bones are going to be very, very soft and pliable. They can eat them right up. Heavy beef bones, beef we slaughter at 2 years of age. So those bones are very, very dense. That's why we don't use them a lot. Those are used mostly for recreational. It's something that they can gnaw on. Of course, they're using antlers and everything else now as well. But we do produce a whole line of good quality. And again, it's got to be, we will look at USDA inspected animals, so it's actually meat that we could actually process in another form to use the bones, and that's bone broth. We can, which is the one medicine that our great grandmothers used to cure every disease known to mankind. Eat your chicken soup.
Jewish penicillin.
That's right, exactly. So we do have a full range of that. We do talk about it on the Pet Health Cafe, my show, my podcast, which is on live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock here on these stations. And
Eastern time.
Eastern time, yes. Of course, the replays of it, 24/7, YouTube, Spotify, all over the place. If you're traveling, you can actually go back decades in some of the old podcasts that we're on. They're on iHeartRadio. So how many other stations? Like 100 other venues.
There's like over 150 podcast outlets out there.
Yeah. So we're all over the place. So you have plenty of areas to look at that. Go on to the website at both the Pet Health Cafe one as well as mypaleopet.com when you want to order them. call in the store, and we have it all for you. I mean, and at the store, you can even go to the point of picking out with those your steaks and our farm to table menu that's there. You can pick up, your fresh eggs. All that stuff is there, and herbals, of course, to when it upsets. If you do get an upset stomach, we have herbals and botanicals that will help out with the stomach. So we can take care of it. And of course the advice that goes along with it. We got a great crew over there that can help you out with your selection, and of course I'm available for consultations if you need that as well.
Well, and they definitely should consult with you, Pet Health Guru, because you're a wealth of knowledge. I've known you for many years, and you took care of my pet for years without me even having to go see you at all. And that's what we want to create for other people. So everybody make sure to check out the Pet Health Guru and check out the podcast, but also check out mypaleopet.com. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing some festival ticket giveaways. And then we are going to have our powerful business strategy segment with our resident expert, Michael Barbarita. So stay with us, and we will be right back.
Incarceration, America's rock, metal, and tattoo festival returns this summer with Limp Bizkit, Disturbed, Bad Omens, plus Gojira, Papa Roach, A Day to Remember, Motionless in White, Ice Nine Kills, Cypress Hill, The Used, and so many more. Incarceration at the Ohio State Reformatory, July 17th to 19th. Passes on sale now at incarceration.com. The Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns May 14th through 17th with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Bring Me the Horizon, and Shinedown. Plus, Pierce the Veil, Good Charlotte, The Offspring, Sublime, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Marilyn Manson, and so many more. Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio, May 14th to 17th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at sonictemplefestival.com. Welcome to Rockville. Returns to Daytona International Speedway, May 7th through 10th with Foo Fighters, My Chemical Romance, Guns N' Roses, and Bring Me the Horizon. Plus, Turnstile, Five Finger Death Punch, The Offspring, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Godsmack, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville, May 7th through 10th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at welcometoRockville.com.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio, and this is the Positively Pipeman segment with our resident expert in business and some powerful business strategies. From Next Step CFO, let's welcome to the show, Michael Barbarita. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you, Dean?
I'm doing great.
Good.
And I'm very appreciative that you're here.
All right. That's good. Yeah, today I want to talk about a concept that I find incredibly interesting, and that is what I call client appreciation days. So what you have to do is you have to find strategic partners who have the same customers as you do, or the same type of customers as you do, and attract the same market. And what you do is you put on quarterly appreciation days for those businesses' clients. So, for example, I'm doing them for CPA firms. And if any CPA firm would like, by the way, if any CPA firm would like to, if any CPA is listening and they would like their firm to have client appreciation days, I'll be happy to do that for them. Way it works is, first of all, there's no work on the part of the CPA firm in this example that I'm giving you. They're going to get the benefit of the value that I bring through business strategies that their competition isn't doing. And they're going to be looked upon as adding that value. The cost is zero, and I share 10% of the revenue with them if I am to get a client. Now, in my particular case, I'm going to have webinars for their clients. They're going to send the emails out. I'm going to prepare the emails that they send out to their clients. And see, the problem that CPA firms have is that they're so inundated with tax work that they really can't get into what traditionally they've been perceived to provide, which is business advice. And so by having me do these client appreciation days, I'm going to be giving that business advice, strategies that their competition isn't doing. And so that are going to be adding tremendous value to their clientele, and it's going to improve their retention. Because one of the problems CPA firms have today, and they have a few of them, one of them is there is nobody getting back into the business. There's nobody getting into the business. And the reason is that all the college kids that are even contemplating for a second to major in accounting know that the hours are brutal. So they're not becoming accounting majors, and therefore there's a lack of people entering the business and the industry. The other thing is that the average age of a CPA is in its about mid-60s, which is retirement age. I should say the CPA firm owners is retirement age for a lot of them, and so they're looking to get out. And so the supply of CPA firms is shrinking, the demand is increasing, and the quality of work is going down because they just can't handle all the demand. So
I'm here to testify that is factual.
okay.
Because when I was in college, I was a double major, pre-med and accounting. I changed the accounting to marketing. Why? Because at the time I was working for Prudential Insurance of America, and I remember being out on a sales call with a CPA who was a CPA for 10 years. And I was doing his financial needs analysis. And after doing that is when I determined I did not want to become a CPA because I was 21 years old, making 4 times the amount of this CPA while I was going to college. I'm like, all that work he's doing, and this is all he makes.
That's right. And when I was at school, a lot of people changed from accounting to marketing because it was perceived to be easier. So that was the other angle. That's the other issue.
It probably is easier because accounting is hard.
Right. So, but the value that you're able to add to your partners, clients, is tremendous. And so it works in many industries, by the way. I just happen to use my particular industry as an example. But there is no cost to the CPA. Your firm, or my firm in this case, would prepare the emails that they would send to their clients. They would obviously approve them before they went out. And it would be a quarterly business advisory webinar, in my case, to their clients, adding tremendous value. And of course, during this webinar, I would make an offer. I would make an offer for a private meeting. And if I land a client through that process, the CPA firm gets 10% revenue share.
Well, and worked the same for me because I ended up, I was at Prudential. I was in the financial business. I became a certified financial planner, and I would do seminars.
Yeah.
And I would work with accountants to have them either come and speak or to promote it to their clients, as they are a great center of influence. And then everybody was happy.
Right.
So yes, I'm a firm believer in what you're saying with these client appreciation days for sure.
And so what I'm also doing is I've got a 3 or 4 minute video that shows an example of the content. I have a 45-minute video too, but I have 3 to 4 minute videos that I give to the CPA who's interested in having me do client appreciation days, so he understands the context of the content that I provide. And like I said, they look like heroes as a result, and then they get a 10% revenue share, and they don't do any additional work, and it's no burden on their staff, except for the person who sends the email, and usually that's a simple constant contact thing, or whatever they use. So to me, these are very valuable, and another way for people, for business owners, to make strategic relationships and get a piece of the of their partners, clients, who are the same clients that they work, they work with. In my case, these are business owners that I work with, and so the CPA firms have a carte blanche right into them, and that gives me an opportunity. And the other thing, Dean, is it's very difficult to get people to a webinar these days or to any type of event, except when there's connective tissue. And what I mean by that, where they're a client of a particular CPA firm, or I was having success bringing people to a webinar because I was a BNI member and they were BNI members. That connective tissue increases the credibility of the event for whatever reason, but it does. And so because of that connective tissue between the CPA firm's client and the CPA firm, you're able to get what I call Muhammad to the mountain. You're able to get people to the webinar, and it works really well.
Tony Robbins used to do the same thing, I didn't know that. Yeah, he would go to companies and get the companies to bring their whole crew to his seminars, and it became even I used to do it okay, we're going on a field trip. We're all going to a seminar, and people didn't really have a choice that, they went, but it benefited everybody is the bottom line, and it just became a part of how to do business.
Terrific. Yeah. So it's a great way to, to spread the word about your product or service. And you do it in the form of client appreciation. That's exactly the wording that you use.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, the financial business, all the seminars are worded with that client appreciation dinner.
Right.
Client appreciation dinner.
Right.
So tell everybody how they can find out more from you and how they can, reach out to you and maybe do some business together to effectively use these strategies that you're giving.
Well, what I'd like to do, Dean, is I want to give away, I have this little template that I like giving away to people who are interested in getting and preparing a position of market dominance, which, if you recall from previous shows, it's the first two steps of the conversion formula: the captivate, which is the problem the customer has and doesn't want, and the fascinate, which is the solution they want they can't find. And what I have is a little template that shows you where you stand with coming up with a position of market dominance, and it helps drive your thinking to develop one. And I think it's very valuable for your audience. All they have to do is go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, and then fill out the contact form and put in the message box, put PMD for position of market dominance, and I'll send that template right out to them.
All right. Sounds beautiful. Once again, a wealth of information, and thank you for being our expert for those businesses out there that are connected to the show. And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.